Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Crazy Leela series and our Great Engine Games series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we are taking another look at Leela playing with Rook Odds. One of the things that makes Leela so difficult to play against with any sort of odds is that, you play the opening okay, you get out of it alive, exchange off queens, couple of minor pieces, just at the cost of a pawn, and you sort of think, well, basically what can happen to me now? But then Leela goes and simply, outplays you with a rook less. And this game that I witnessed live was a really impressive example of it. Just amazing how Leela manages to restrict the activity of a force that's greater in number. Really amazing. Let's have a look how it all went. So this was one of the random openings that Leela plays with odds, a sort of a weird sort of birds. Black gave up the b pawn, well, it wasn't so bad for black. King played to d1 here, castles knight d2, and I was watching this game live, and I saw black, rushing to exchange off queens like that, and I was thinking, well, that's not too bad, really. I mean, Leela's going to retreat. And then black plays c5. Actually, it's worked out kind of okay here. But what Leela did was, obviously playing instantly, as Leela always does, was to take off the queens. And I was really thinking, wow, is this really going to work? I mean, you've just got a pawn for the rook. You've got the two bishops. Okay, that's cool. But really, is it going to be enough? I mean, the only thing that you sort of notice is that Black's position doesn't have much active potential at the moment. I mean, this bishop on b6 is sort of pointing just to a pawn there. This knight can't go to c5 or to e5. This knight doesn't have any particular scope somehow. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be very easy for for Black to improve the position. At least it's going to be a long haul. I mean, and certainly if you saw a lot of the games between Torch and Stockfish, they're often taking 60, 70 moves somehow. So I think that gives an impression of, how undynamic Black's position actually is. But still, you're rook up somehow. But what Leela did was very, very impressive. So Leela started off with a4. Yeah, just gaining some space on the queen side, and yeah, black has to decide, do you want to stop that with a5, or do you maybe want to let white continue, maybe play the move like b4, maybe play a5 after, but kind of squeezing black on the queen side there. Black decided to play the move a5, which is possible, I mean, it's not a bad decision. But what Leela did straight away was to play the move knight b1. So this knight is coming round to a3 to b5. It's found a nice outpost, and from b5 that knight's going to attack the d6 pawn, which is already quite a slight irritation somehow. So black played rook fc8, knight a3, and now black played the move e5, striking out in the center. That's not bad, but it does kind of expose some weaknesses. What I kind of liked was Stockfish's plan here, where Stockfish played the move bishop d8 first of all, and bishop e7, and just got the bishop organized nicely, and then actually followed it up with knight b8 to c6. So somehow the pieces are just slightly better organized there, and then afterwards Stockfish was trying, gradually to puzzle out how to make a break against white. It wasn't easy. It took 73 moves for Stockfish to beat Torch from this position, but Stockfish managed it eventually, of course. But I like very much this, reorganizing your pieces before trying to strike out. Now e5 is not a bad move, but yeah, obviously it's going to make things just a little bit tougher. So knight b5 from Leela, hitting the pawn on d6. And now actually the engines wanted to play the sharp idea e4, with the idea of knight takes d6, rook c6 there. And, well, I mean, the lines are opening up a little bit more, and yeah, simply the black pieces are getting a little bit more freedom. Again, maybe at the cost of an extra pawn or so, but that's not really that important. For example, f takes e4, takes e5, Rook e6, bishop d8 takes knight f6 was one line that the engines were playing. And well, I'm sure that Leela could make a pretty good fight of it from this position. But at least you've got a square on e4 for the knight. You've also got a pawn on e3 that you could attack. You've got some entry channels on the king side, maybe, that your rook could use. Feels a little bit more like you're living as black there. Um, in this game, black played the move knight e8, keeping it tight at the back, and then white played the move bishop h3. Always, Leela's always very good at sort of showing you the drawback to the last move that you made. So hitting now the loose knight on d7 here. So black played rook d8 to protect it, and now b3. So that's another unpleasant little move. I wasn't really sure how Leela was going to play this pawn structure, but Leela doesn't want to play f takes e5, d takes e5, which would, well, just sort of free stuff and also free black from having a target to defend. Leela wants to, is willing to have double pawns on the f file just to be able to play bishop a3 and attack the pawn on d6. Still, there's no sign of black getting particularly free here. So black played g6, which is not a bad move, looking to play f5 just to block out this bishop. So Leela played rook g1, stopping f5 because of bishop takes f5, and after king h8 played the move f5, which again is just trying to stop black from blocking out the bishop. I mean, obviously the bishop's blocked out by this pawn on f5, but you get the chance to open the position later. So and yeah, I mean, this knight can't move for the moment, attacking the pawn on d6. Still, there's no end somehow to the pressure yet for black. However, the engines are still assessing this as minus 3.88, so the material is still counting for a lot. So e takes d4 played by black. I wasn't 100% sure about it because after e takes d4, I mean, it's only really freeing white, right? And this is giving white some extra opportunities to put that bishop somewhere. The engines were playing knight df6 here, bishop a3, rook b7, and yeah, looking to get the rook over to e7 somehow, and yeah, try and then maybe play e takes d4, but then once you've got something on the e file somehow. Again, I think it's always tough to do at these time controls. Black was playing 5+5, so a decent time control. But yeah, making sure your moves are prepared before you play them is a big bonus somehow. And that is what the rook odds give you somehow. Normally, they do give you some leeway for preparing your moves. But yeah, you've got to find it, and you've got to understand what Leela wants to do, of course. So black played takes in gf5, and I mean my eyebrows shot up when I saw it, but it's not so bad. I mean, it's really breaking stuff open, but of course you are trying to open lines, and you're desperately looking for a place to to activate your rooks, and now you at least get the G file. But first Leela can do some nasty stuff to you. Now, what the engines were looking at now was to play something that was very similar to what happened in the game, but just to give the material back, basically. Here with knight e6, bishop d8, rook d8, and then play this position. It's very, very similar to what happened in the game, as you'll see. But yeah, this is pretty much what the engines were looking at. There was another idea that was played by Stockfish, which was f6, bishop h6, and then this move knight e5, which is very clever. Very important as well, otherwise you're going to be completely blocked up. But the idea is that d takes c5 allows bishop takes g1, and after bishop f5 you go rook b7, bishop e6, knight g6, and rook e7, and you're kind of starting to get yourself motoring a bit there. But that was a very sharp tactical spot there. You can't always rely on those things being there. Knight df6 is what black played, and then bishop f5, and then knight g8. A little bit less elegant than what black played. I mean, knight f8 to e6 feels better than putting the knight to g8. But the idea is still the same. Black's willing now to give up some material, in order to break the pressure. And Leela took on d8 and played rook takes d8. And again, I was looking at this and I was thinking, well, black hasn't done that badly. I mean, it's all been a little bit rough, really, but after all, it's just still one pawn for the piece. The pieces are a little bit rough. the structure rather, pawns on d5, d6. It's not going to be easy, but it looks pretty safe somehow, and I can't really see how white's going to achieve anything, amazing really. Leela played bishop d3, and here, yeah, it would have been very sensible to play the move knight c7 now, just to chase away the knight on b5. Black played knight f6. After all, nothing's wrong with that. But now Leela broke with b4 here. And here Black played the move knight c7, which in retrospect is not was not such a great idea. It's not bad, but it just gives Leela the ability to inject a fresh lease of life. But I didn't see it coming at all. just wasn't sure at all how Leela was going to inject any life into this position. But Leela took on a5, takes, and then played this very unpleasant move knight a7. The idea being that you're coming round to fork the rook and the bishop, and it's very hard to actually work out how to deal with this somehow. Yeah, it just looks like your rook's going to end up being just pinned to the back to the a8 square to defend the bishop. That was probably the best way of playing it, but Black didn't want that. He played a move bishop b6, but now knight c6, rook a8, and rook b1. And now we're round to 0.00, so White's already got plenty enough compensation for the piece. You're attacking that bishop on b6, and how are you going to defend it? Because if you go knight d7, we've got this move a5 here. And if takes, we can just take off and go rook b7, and White's winning back a piece. Now, of course, something like that would have been the best idea, something like knight f8, takes, and king g7. But yeah, it's difficult to reconcile yourself to an equal ending when, is it equal? It feels a little bit worse somehow, with those double pawns. When you've been a rook up, but something like that, the engines thought was holdable. What Black played is also holdable, still at 0.00, but it's starting to get rather uncomfortable. I mean, the rook and the bishop are kind of pinned to their spots, and White's just invading on the 8th rank. I mean, I thought that knight fe8 was going to be the best thing, because I couldn't see any way to break through. Actually, what White does is just swap off the rooks, and then you're coming back, and you're going to go a5. Eventually, that a pawn is going to cost you a piece. But okay, I mean, you'll have equal pawns and equal pieces. It should still be okay for Black. Black played knight ce8, hoping to bring the bishop back somehow. Played the move rook takes f7, and here Black really should have taken the opportunity to play the move bishop c7. Because then you've got your bishop out of the way. Okay, White's got 2 pawns now for the piece, and still some very ropey pawns for Black. So I don't think you're not talking about a win anymore. But okay, you can sort of bring your the king into safety there, and vaguely try and maybe kick the king away with bishop d8 and then back to c7 or something. You're most likely going to survive there, although I'm sure Leela's going to find some ways to make things awkward for you, king b4 and then try and just push the pawn on. Black played king g8 and the rook moved back to b7. And yeah, Black went bishop d8. I mean, just desperately trying to get the pieces active. But it's really hard for Black to get any pieces active. I mean, the bishop and rook are attacking the pawn here. These are awful somehow. It's just really tricky. And Black played the move knight g7. Yeah, I guess trying to get the knight active somehow, although it's not really clear what Black's thinking about there, but this is just winning now for White. And this is the big difficulty, of course, of playing against Leela, is that these sort of conversions are just played automatically. A human player might wonder a little bit. For Leela, they're absolutely clear. So takes an a5. We're just going a6, a7, rook b8. Very hard to spot. Black played rook d7 and Leela boonk takes and king b4, and yeah, it's just going to be incredibly simple for Leela. I mean, if you go king f7, then White will even just take this pawn first off, just to give White pass pawns on both sides. There's just no easy way for Black to get free here. Black played knight b8, the king went to b5, knight e6, king b6, knight d8, stopping the king from getting into b7, but you get the king to c7. And after knight dc6, a6 takes. Black took the knight on c6 there. and black resigned because after knight b8, king c7, the knight is completely, the knight is completely trapped there. A really nice game, yeah. It's I just thought how, it was just outplaying black a rook down through incredibly simple means, really. And black didn't really make any big blunders there, but I guess what black was kind of guilty of was, I think, this move e5 definitely made things more tricky for black. It weakened the pawn structure. Gave black some things that the black really needed to defend, and this bishop on b6 was just not helping at all. This idea of Stockfish just to move the bishop round to e7 first before trying to do anything was much better somehow. But yeah, just how little things that the black did somehow led to to just Leela gaining more and more space. But the whole second phase of it, really, you thought, well, actually, black's done pretty well here. Black's kind of survived, but then the way that Leela managed to just to launch the attack again with this idea was simply incredible, and the finish, of course, was very powerful. So there we are. Oh dear! Before I end in a coughing fit, I hope you enjoyed that game, and well, plenty more odds games to come. So hope you stay with me for more of those. Thanks for watching.